Jon Favreau called for Iron Man and said, can you help us? It's Iron Man, are you kidding me? I mean, of course I want to work on Iron Man. I mean, of course you want to do that. I mean, I love Marvel comics. I love Spider-Man. I used to read Iron Man. John Nelson called and said, can you guys come in and look at some of these interfaces? There's a lot of text you can't quite read, and it's very technical, but it wasn't advancing the story. But this is the kind of thing, different ideas for how those interfaces look. John always used the reference of, the iPhone kind of thing, the sort of simplicity. He felt like Tony Stark would be really visually sophisticated and not just like a technological nerd, but he would have a real sense of style, and all the products in his house would have a real sense of this high design sensibility.
Connect to the Cisco, have it reconfigure the shell metals, use the gold titanium alloy from the Seraphim tactical satellite. That should ensure fuselage integrity while maintaining power to weight ratio. Got it?
Yes. Shall I render using proposed specifications?
Throw me.
So we want to show that the computer is processing something specific to that, whereas the interfaces prior, some of them, just looked complicated, but they didn't look specific to the story. And John was very specific about, you have to hit this story point, even though it's a pan from one monitor to another, and you only have, 3 seconds. I still want to get what's going on with those monitors. The beginning designs on the hologram. That's that. But then they let us work on the main title, and we came up with a ton of stuff. We had the idea of the title itself kind of forming like...
As a company our size, we always like to put our best foot forward and get as much out there as we can, make a really good impression on the pitch. So, we pitched a lot of different styles and a huge range of things, from, the shiny, glossy kind of look to something kind of gritty and textural. When I'm involved in an effort of that scale, I always like to just do something completely different, knowing that those stand a great chance, but maybe there's, an opportunity for something else.
I had a board that had flying. The interface, he says, I am Iron Man, and then the HUD display encases him, and he comes up around him, and then he takes off. The kind of brief that I gave the people here is that I thought when he says, I'm Iron Man, it should be like a celebratory thing, like you leave the theater and you're pumped. And I also thought about, I liked the interaction of the robots. And so we had a board that was all about type, that was kind of being, very complex kind of situation with type being made by robots. And John felt like there wasn't a lot of detail material of the suit itself. So he very much responded to a board that was all about the inner mechanics of the suit. But we had this little motion test, and John saw it and he really liked it.
And this is what we had showed to them the first meeting. I decided, well, maybe it would be kind of interesting to do something that's like a video game, kind of wireframe sort of looking. And Tempest, it was fully Tempest. The color, the look of it. It was that and a combination of Tron. I liked Tron a lot at the time too, and a game called Battlezone. So I would go into arcades all the time as a kid to spend like $40 and in quarters at a time on these things, and that was a lot then, to do. I'm kind of dating myself.
John saw it and he really liked it, and I think he wanted to move away from the kind of language of Spider-Man and have something that was more kind of funky, and now Kevin was a little bit more, he was wondering if it became a conversation then about what's the level of rendering. Well, it looks retro, and John's like, no, that retro is, that's what's cool. That's what's cool about it.
In talking to the director, at that point, we were going back and forth so much, between what can it be. We went a little bit too far, I think, in the sort of printed kind of look, and it ended up looking like paper in a way, so we were kind of unhappy with that. Fortunately, after showing them that, they didn't like that very much. We went right back to it. What was super cool for us was that ILM had given us this, they gave us the CG model for Iron Man. So you can imagine the detail in that. I mean, we're peeling apart layer after layer. It was just endless. I think these guys had spent months at this thing. But it was so fun to be able to just take that plate, you remove it, there's this mesh, you know, you remove that. There's all these like little screws and bolts and nuts and all of that, which is really evident in this shot here. It's crazy what these guys did. They just, you know, it's like real machine work. They just went and did every single piece. The detail these guys put in, it's just such a labor of love from them. They really, really figured this thing out. You know, like we wanted a little bit of a hint of film here, you know, and then we just kind of give it a lot of nice grain and texture and all that kind of stuff. That Ilya had come up with this look, you know, to give it a little bit of an imperfect quality. And they wanted us to put War Machine in there, so we found a good opportunity to do that, I think, on this here. Dave Reiner had modeled this. So all of this was made here at Prologue. We had a couple reference photos to go off of to be able to do that. And then here, I like even like laser tag, you know how they have all the black light kind of thing. My kids play that. They love that stuff, but I think it's not as popular anymore. But I thought it might be kind of fun to explore that just a little bit right here.